Also. Awesome. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the live session today, which is very much so an impromptu live session. Actually, I just informed my guests that we were going live. So if they looked any version of shocked, that's why. But really excited to be here with you today, bringing S.J. Anderson back, who we've met from the YouTube Academy and other classes that we've done together, but also introducing for the first time to our audience, Dan Waite. So welcome, you guys.
Thank you very much.
I'm really happy to be here, Stormy, as always. Lovely to see you. And hi, Dan. Great to see you. Happy to be with both you.
And this is a really cool time for us to get together because you guys are doing the mundane astrological look at the world just in the 2020s and like what it's been, what it's going to be, what it has the potential to be. And I was talking a little bit with Dan before about bringing it, from the sky actually down to earth so that people can understand what's going on around them and the cycles that we're in. So it's really fantastic work. And just before we jump into all of that, I just want to give each of you an opportunity to introduce, or SJ, reintroduce yourself to the crew. So you want to start, SJ?
Absolutely. I'm S.J. Anderson, astrologer from Texas originally. And I am, Hellenistic inspired, but very much contemporary with my with my spiritual viewpoint, which I infuse with my astrological practice. But yeah, I have a YouTube channel, talk regular astrology conversations there, very active on Twitter. And, just honored to be an astrologer, to be able to get to participate in this profession with you and our larger community and everything. So it just makes me so happy to get to do this work. And let's see, yeah, I'm a consulting astrologer. You can find me SJ Anderson, 144.com for information about readings that I provide. But I guess that's a short summary. I do mundane and natal are kind of my focus, or my two foci.
Foci. I love that. That's fantastic. How are you, Dan? Hello, welcome.
Thanks very much for having me, Stormy. Well, I have the same foci as SJ, I think. I'm also doing natal and mundane astrology, but I'm from England, originally from the town of Durham, England, currently in Suffolk. And yeah, I'm a consulting astrologer, do natal consultations, but I'm really focused on mundane astrology. So I'm very active talking about mundane astrology on Twitter. I have a Substack where I write about it, and I have a YouTube channel called World Astrology Report, which is, I think, the reason why we're here today.
It is. And so you guys, I'll make sure there's a link in the description box down below if you haven't already gotten distracted and clicked over to see all the goodness that's happening over there. But we'll definitely make sure that you can get connected to that YouTube channel and to the others. And Dan, we got to pause for the cause for a minute. Like around here, I get really excited when people have an accent. Like it feeds my whole ninth house sun life. So you're welcome back, like anytime.
Thanks so much. Thanks. It's really nice to be appreciated for my ridiculous voice.
Which is so funny. It just makes me laugh a little bit too, because I feel like what an American, you know what I mean? Like we're just like looking at people from England. We're like, this is so good. And you maybe didn't even do anything. You're just trying to be a person.
That's all I'm trying to do.
Fantastic. Well, let's actually talk about this work. And for people out there who maybe are a little bit newer to the practice, when we're talking about mundane astrology, this is the astrology of events, of places, of events that are happening in those places, like world trends that are happening. So these are our focused astrologers who are really looking at, yes, there could be a pandemic coming. Yes, there could be a crisis coming. Yes, there could be these things coming. Mars is retrograde in Gemini. What does that mean for the world? So if this is a lens of astrology that you're interested in, these two people could absolutely be your guides. So make sure that you're checking them out. Now, with this series, how did this come to be?
So that's a good question. So I started my YouTube channel back in July, as I said, called World Astrology Report. So the idea of the channel is really to try and bring world astrology to life as much as possible, to kind of make it visual and dynamic, like you're watching a little news report or a documentary, but with astrology. So I started this channel and I've made quite a few episodes. I'm really starting to get my skills down in terms of producing episodes. But I really always wanted to bring other astrologers on, and have their ideas and share those and really try and bring those to life too. Once I got my confidence, I was like, okay, it's time to have guests now. And to be honest, the first person I thought of was SJ. We have quite similar interests in terms of mundane astrology. We're both very into interested in the big picture, doing kind of, really kind of big cycle work and kind of trying to situate where we are in the world and in time on a really large scale. And we had a lot in common, and we know each other. I was SJ's client actually from quite a while back. So funny things can happen from being an astrologer's client. And so I reached out to SJ and I proposed. I said, how about you come on my channel and do an episode? And I was just delighted when he said yes straight away.
Oh, that's fantastic. And what about for you, SJ? I mean, how neat to see that transition too, from a client to now you're partnering on this cool project.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I always appreciate, seeing Dan blossom, and just like, I think in the last 2-3 years with Twitter and then World Astrology Report, it was just awesome to see any client or no client seeing another like astrologer come into their powers and come into their sort of voice astrologically. So that was really cool to see as a friend client, but just as astrologer to astrologer. And I like when people want to engage in this larger conversation about the astrology of the world, as you might call it, and what's going on in our reality collectively using the cycles. And because I don't think as many astrologers are maybe as focused on that. So that was also really cool when Dan emerges here with his voice. And so when he asked me, I was like, yeah, let's do it. Awesome. And then what was cool was we decided to meet as just to maybe talk about some ideas. And from that meeting, we realized, okay, this needs to be longer than maybe just like one podcast appearance or one short video appearance. And we then developed a kind of larger set of ideas as a way to address what he and I wanted to talk about together. So it kind of became very productive and expansive as soon as we had our first meeting. And so that part of it has been amazing, because then it's kind of like we're writing a video series, and that takes a lot of work, and it allows for more ideas to be part of this kind of bigger conversation than just kind of a one-off, hey, come talk for 30 minutes. Those are awesome too. That's kind of all I want to do right now in my life. It's like, okay, I'll work with you just a one-off 30 minutes. I'm not doing any work. But then when Dan came, I was like, all right, I'll put in some time and effort and energy. Mars and Gemini, it's going to be really busy for an astrologer. So this is part of my Mars and Gemini transit story.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's so, I mean, I guess the question that I really want to get answered for people who are watching or people who want to engage your series is, why is it important? Like, why is what you're doing important right now? And what's the benefit of people who are coming over to watch? What are they going to actually learn? Because for us to say, oh, we're bringing the astrology from the sky, down to earth, that's great. But what does that mean in the average person's life? And they can do something with that.
So I think that what we're really trying to do is almost give people like a roadmap and show them where they are in history and in terms of world events. Now, we're at a really interesting time in history. Things are moving really quickly. With technological change, it can easily feel a bit disorientating. What's going on? Why is today not like yesterday was, and what's coming tomorrow? And that can make you anxious. If you don't really know where you are or where things are going. And so I think that's the power of mundane astrology, and that's why I love it so much, because it can actually help you to give you some kind of inner peace in terms of terms of reacting and dealing with the changing times, because you kind of understand what's going on, what's happening archetypally, and what's the direction of travel of things. So that's kind of one of the major things that I really want to do with mundane astrology. I'm not sure, what SJ would say.
My thing is that so when Dan and I got together this first call, he's like, okay, what are you thinking, SJ? What's going on? And what's been on my mind as an astrologer, and then but then also more important than the astrology, is the effects that I think are guaranteed for this transit that's coming in 2026. So by 2026, July, all outer planets will have changed signs for good. And so you'll have Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, Saturn, and Jupiter, of course, change a few signs. But those three kind of major modern outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, all are in new signs. And I've lived through in my life ingresses of outer planets into new signs, and know just how impactful they can be on my reality, on my practical reality. Pluto ingresses into Capricorn in 2008, and we know what that did with the global financial crash. I mean, that's real tangible effects on lives. And many people lost homes or lost jobs. You had Uranus ingress into Aries in the early teens, and there was like major earthquakes. I mean, almost immediately, that changed the whole world. I think it was the Japanese earthquake in Fukushima that had a huge impact. So and there's a Neptune ingress story. None's coming to mind immediately when it ingressed into Pisces. I think maybe culture, social media, this confusion about what's real, what isn't. That's probably part of this Neptune and Pisces transit. But so all of these things are going to happen very soon. I mean, we're talking 4 years, 3.5, 4 years, major transition. And so I was like, Dan, look at this. And I've called this chart, if you pull it up, it's July 2026, the basket, because if you put the aspect lines on, it's this perfect, elegant basket of trines and sextiles between these 5 outer planets. I've called them Barbeau outer planets because it's what Andre Barbeau used to map his cycles. And so this is the genesis of the whole thing. It's like, what's this basket going to be? Because symbolically, it's a complete change of our reality. And so just to come back to the why is like, I think we need to be centering this, in my opinion, and already starting the conversation. So my idea was, let's start this conversation, Dan, as best as we can to prepare everyone for these massive changes that are about to come, and just try to understand, what could it be? What are these? And it might help us as we're living through this time. I guess that's the main idea.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be really interesting as your work continues to come out to see a level of comfort, or maybe just being informed comfort, that your series is also able to give to people. Because one of the things we were talking about beforehand is that we're on time, right? Like on this planet, we are on time. We are going through the cycles that we need to, and they bring what they bring as they come, but we're on time. So having some kind of piece of like, it's not all hell in a handbasket and we're off track and it's gone sideways, right? The events inside of it were always going to be in whatever form they were going to be. And so there's some sense of like, I'm at least informed that I'm in the right alignment of timing. And I think that your series can help to do that. I also will say that I think it's really interesting. I work a lot in the progressed lunar phase. And, in the United States, as we get to this 2026, we'll see that progressed lunar phase come crescent, where we start to see the tangible results of what we've been building through the time that we're experiencing now. So, you know what I mean? There again, even people living inside of the United States, it's like, we are where we're supposed to be.
Yeah, I think that's true. And another thing that really strikes me, and what we're trying to do with this series as well, is help people to understand the kind of amazing moment that they're really living through in many ways. There are lots of astrological events happening which are really just very rare and are kind of coming at the same time. I think maybe some of your viewers will know about the Jupiter-Saturn conjunctions shifting permanently into air signs, this age of air that we've moved into. So we have that, that's a huge transition. And then we have this configuration that SJ was talking about coming in 2026, this amazing configuration of the outer planets, with Uranus and Neptune and Pluto. And those 3 planets are all moving into harmonious aspects in their cycles. So we know we have the Neptune-Pluto cycle. This is a cycle that began in 1892. It's going to be making an exact sextile. And then we have the Pluto-Uranus cycle, beginning in 1965. We have a trine in that cycle. And we have the Neptune Uranus cycle as well, which is making a sextile. And this is all coming at once. It's remarkable. And so to be able to kind of witness this happening is also, quite amazing. So it's not going to be a walk in the park. That's absolutely, for sure. And we're very clear about that, but we also we want to give people a balanced picture as well. There are also wonderful things about, what's coming into being in this period.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I found, and I'm not sure if your research has shown you the same things, but specifically with Pluto and Saturn, when they come into new signs, that the ingress that allows them to kind of stay and do that full cycle, each time that has happened, I've seen that we do mass loss on this planet, like kind of all at the same time it will happen. And they are usually in the forms of, something unfortunately quite tragic, but it's almost like a revamping of the vibration that has to be in order to go forward. So this idea of having a balanced view of, we're part of a moment in history for sure. And what we will see going forward is about balancing things out, is about, getting things square for the next vibration that can exist on this planet at this time. So I don't know if either of you have seen that in your mundane work, or if you can speak to that at all.
Yeah, I'll just say for sure, particularly with Pluto ingresses, and I'm going to come out of this darkness very quickly, but you look Pluto ingress to a new sign before World War I and before World War II, right after that ingress. And so I think it mirrors what you've said here, 2008 as well, with the crashes, the financial crashes. I think you're raising a point here, Stormy, in my view, that is about our cosmology, ontology, our sense of being, our sense of spiritual groundedness. These are sometimes non-astrological viewpoints and reality frames that become very important when we talk about astrology. And so I'll just share, it's like mine, what keeps me going. Yeah, we're human souls here. I do believe in a divine, loving energy, that is the hand of God is at play. I believe that. And I think that, as long as we are breathing and we are bodies animated by soul, then we can, express that in any moment of time, no matter the difficulties that happen. There's going to be opportunities for the human spirit to shine, to assert itself. And I think one of the things about this particular moment that's so beautiful is the interconnectivity, global interconnectivity that allows us to find soul families. I know you share, Stormy, a lot on your channel, high souls, I think, or soulmates. I mean, and this is the kind of great beauty of what we're in, that we can connect with like-minded hearts and minds all over the world. And I really do think that will help mitigate and soften whatever this difficult period is going to be, and give us the opportunity to explore human creativity in ways like we've never seen. And so I really do like to focus on the upsides and the opportunities that can help us kind of brace for whatever the harshness will be, and then celebrate these new realities as they emerge. I like what you say, new vibration. So yeah, optimism and hope is, for me, a major ingredient for all astrology, really, all transits, even like this eclipse. Oh no, we'll try to keep a little bit of optimism and hope, no matter what's happening in the sky, the transiting sky.
Yeah, I tend to be a little bit more solution oriented. So it was fun. I actually did a podcast with another astrologer. She's a little bit more dark and dank, and it was really very good, because I was like, wow, yeah, like I never come at it from that perspective. And she had so much to just unpeel and offer, but it was like just a really different experience. You know what I mean? So the interconnectivity, would have never found each other if it wasn't for the availability of these things. So as we're looking forward from today, moving through the 20s that you're going to be covering, what are some pretty specific things you think we can cue people into to pay attention to, whether that be in the economy, tech, whichever realm? You can start talking about Mars retrograde if you'd like. You start right there. I think people will be interested in that.
Go ahead, Dan.
Yes.
Yeah.
you want me to take this? Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot coming up. So, I think the one of the major pieces is the technological moment that we're living through, and this global connectivity that we were just talking about. That's something that's kind of what's interesting about it is that since say 1980, I would say, when we had the first of these Jupiter-Saturn conjunctions in air signs, we've had this technological revolution. We've had the internet with the World Wide Web and social media and all these things come and change our lives. But what we haven't really seen is that hasn't really we haven't seen that translated into changes to how things are really structured, how our government's structured, how is state structured, how is society structured. And so that's something that I think we're really kind of going to see over the next few years. Once we have like some big transits coming, Pluto moving into Aquarius in 2023, March 2023, so very soon. And what I've seen from my mundane research in the past is that every time Pluto moves into Aquarius, we enter a kind of revolutionary moment where structures and the way that societies are formed and work changes because of the pressures of the times. And so we haven't had that yet, and that's something that's in the post. And I think that with the Mars retrograde, this is kind of the setup really for that Pluto in Aquarius transit that's coming now. And we have a transformative conflict taking place in Europe, I think, at the moment. And it's no surprise then we have a very long Mars transit in a single sign that's taking place while that conflict's underway.
Yeah. And it's always a thing, when it's one of the personal planets, it's going to settle someplace for some time. It's almost this energetic indicator, I think, to me, that it's like, we really need a lot of reformation here. We need a longer time than just 6 weeks. Like, no, friends, settle in for some months. We've got to really relook at the strategies we're using to get some things done and the conflicts that got us here in the first place. So that's super, super interesting. What about you, SJ? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think, it's along the same lines, social media. I'll start here with Mars retrograde. I think it's about to undertake a major shift, people's relationship to the media. I mean, this thing came on us so fast, right? And it kind of took over everything in terms of our daily attentions, budgets all got thrown here. It got connected to our nervous systems. So we're dealing with some Mercury and Gemini related themes when we talk about social media and the internet. With Mars coming here, I think it's going to be a great time to review, especially during the last 2 years when we were forced into these devices because of what was happening in the world and forced onto Zoom. I guess forced is probably the wrong word, but this was just how things unfolded. And I'm seeing this Mars retrograde transit as a nice time to review, excise, prune, and get a little bit more clear about how we want to have these diets and with our consciousness. And it's interesting because it's happening at a time with Saturn's final few months in Aquarius. So you have this air element majorly activated, not only with the new Jupiter-Saturn cycle in air signs until 2159, then that begins to transition out. But also with just this moment in time with major air sign activation. And then Pluto comes in March, as Dan was alluding to, and it's the same month that Mars will leave Gemini and Saturn will leave Aquarius. So it very much is a setup for getting ready. And so the specific things I would look at, digital IDs may be coming, verification with the social media that is maybe going to have a new relationship to how it's more directly connected to ourself and not so much just like this space that is that's out there. No, it's going to become more embedded and integrated, I think. Digital currencies, of course, Mercury ruling air signs by triplicity is the planet of money, air is the planet of technology. So look for major digital currency integration to be coming not only next year, but in the following years. That configuration 2026, the basket includes planets in Aquarius and in Gemini. So these air signs are huge for just the Pluto and Uranus transits. So we're not going to, the air element is like a major, it's the one element I would pick that we need to study and figure out what it means. And it's, again, money, medical technologies. So I think that these questions that came up in the last 2 years about, medicine and consent, all of that set to become majorly important and we're going to continue to grapple with that. So yeah, those are some of my maybe more specific predictions. And one thing I'll just say, I said this in our first video in the series, if you want to know what's going to happen, look around.
Yeah.
Because it's always like in 2007, if you wanted to know what Pluto's ingress in 2008 to Capricorn would bring, all you had to do was look at these economic people that were writing about, hey, this is going to crash. It's a bubble. It's a bubble. It's a bubble. It was kind of clear that there were some good odds of what might happen if you just looked around. So in this case, look around. Technology's taken over, and it's going to continue to transform everything.
Absolutely. That's super cool. And you're right. Just look around. I'm like thinking about all of the pay systems and all of the changes that are going through now with verification, or how much money can you actually send, all of these different things that are changing in our payment providers and things like that, amongst other things. So the first episode is up on your channel and it's ready to go. And how often are you going to be releasing the next episodes, just so people, because they got to go get caught up first, but like, when's the next one coming? It's like Netflix.
So I'm working on the next one right now. And hopefully it should be out next week. I don't want to specify the day in case it turns out to be wrong, but it will certainly be next week. And then the idea is that we'll bring one episode out roughly every 2 weeks, and there's going to be 4 episodes.
Okay, well, so there's going to be 4 episodes of all of this goodness, and then what will you two do together? Because this is really good. You guys are a fantastic combination working together. I watched the first episode and I just keep thinking, well, I mean, what are you going to do next? Like, when is this over? So hopefully you've had that conversation.
We haven't had that conversation yet.
People, just leave it to me. I will get your lives organized. I am a Virgo rising. I will have you sorted. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got some personal stuff I'm hoping to get back to, like my Substack. I want to get onto Substack, and so I've got my first article it's in gestation. So I'm hoping to kind of come back and I got my new website that I'm just about to finish editing and getting that launched. So I'm hoping to kind of get some of that done, and then maybe be open next year. Dan, we'll have to have this next time we do our planning meetings. We'll put that on the agenda. Okay.
Absolutely.
No, I'm sure we will want to work together again at some point. It's been a real pleasure, because we are very much on the same wavelength in a lot of ways. And the creative process of throwing our ideas together and seeing what comes out has led to some really nice stuff so far. But right now I'm so knee deep in editing, the prospect of more isn't so appealing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, whatever it is that you guys do next, I'll be super excited, ready to support that, whether it's together or individually. And this series that you guys have put together is fantastic. And I want to say thank you from our community for what you did put out, bringing the awareness to it, and just taking the practice, the skill, this craft, and putting it to work, and then informing people. So thank you for your work.
And
thank you.
I just want to thank you, Stormy. Yeah, always a pleasure to come on and be with you, and a joy to be with you. So I really appreciate your spiritual approach. I know when I come on with you, I can kind of let my kind of my spiritual freak flag fly fully, and it's totally safe here. So I just appreciate that. Thank you so much. So.
Absolutely. All right, you guys, we are going to wrap up for today. I will make sure underneath this video, and or if you are listening on the podcast, that all of the links to Dan and SJ's work will be out there. There'll also be links to their individual projects as well. So make sure that you check it out, go click over, get informed, so that as we are moving forward, there's some sense of what's coming around you, and that it's just not all doom and gloom, just certain portions, but even what can you do with that, right? What can you positively do with that? So, all right, you guys, I love you a ton, and we will see you next time.